Hello and welcome to Monday's programme. I'm Kylie Pentelow.
And I'm John T. Messer. Coming up tonight between now and 6:30. The number of students in our region applying to universities hits a 5-year low.
Well, obviously you can do many other things with your life. You don't have to go to university to succeed. But I think it gives you the right step forwards, I think, personally for me anyway.
Good evening. There's been an alarming drop in the number of people in the southwest applying for degree places. That's according to figures released today.
Nationally, demand has risen, but the exact opposite is happening in our region. Well, today, hundreds of 14-year-olds from a range of diverse communities gathered at the University of the West of England to discuss why that might be the case. Ashna Harinag has this report.
Hopping off the school bus and off to university. 2,000 students from across Bristol are here to be inspired.
I'd like to work in criminology or forensic science. I want to study what I'm passionate about, which is nursing.
I want to be a doctor because I've had an interest in stuff like that since I was 8.
Others, like Taj Ashat from Bristol Metropolitan Academy, want to work in a different field.
I want to be a footballer, professional level. I mean, it's good to have a backup plan, but with me, I'm a risk taker.
A risk not worth taking for some.
You don't have to go to university to succeed. But I think it gives you the right step forwards, I think, personally for me anyway.
These 14-year-old students are just months away from selecting their GCSE subjects. This event aims to inspire them and influence their decisions by showing them what industries they might want to work in, like policing to even the media. But with students from across the county all here, why is it that university applications from those in the southwest are particularly low? The latest figures from UCAS reveal 25% of 18-year-olds in Weston-super-Mare who left college went on to university. 20.5% from Bristol East did the same. And 16%, that's only 1 in 6 of young people who left sixth form in Bristol South, went on to higher education.
We will target certain students that we know that maybe for whatever reasons are struggling in school. It's a big issue when you consider the amount of young people that are currently NEET, not in education, employment or training. That's an issue not just for this city but within the whole of the UK.
But even if schools succeed in creating high expectations for students, will they be able to meet the cost of helping children fulfil them?
Well, there is no financial support. Let's be realistic. We're in the middle of austerity. Schools are really struggling with their budgets at this moment in time. So in terms of further and higher education, obviously parents or have access to grants to enable their children to go to university. But then the alternative is to do an apprenticeship and you get paid.
These students have 4 years to decide what path they'll take. But by going to events like this, they're proving it's never too early to think about the future. Ashna Harinag, ITV News, Bristol.
Well, we're joined by Sally Apps now. Sally is the Executive Principal from the Cabot Learning Federation. You look after 15 academies, basically, in the region, don't you? Are you surprised that the number of students applying to go to university is falling?
I'm not astonished, no. We have seen that that was the case last year and it's been the case in the past for this region. We do know that there were fewer students of the right age in the last year's figures, so we would expect there'd be slightly lower applications, but of course that doesn't account for why in this region it's lower than in other parts of the country.
And of course we hear so much, don't we, about tuition fees. That's got to have played a huge part.
Yes, I think it does, and I think if you live in an urban centre and you're close to a university, then there is the option, of course, that you can live at home and then travel to university. But in the southwest, we have so many students who are living in rural areas, who are much more spread out, and therefore that's not really an option for them. And so it's a big risk to move away from home and to take that huge leap in terms of getting themselves in debt. And I'm not sure that they always think it pays off for them.
We see areas like South Bristol, that's around 16% of people applying to go to university. Why do you think people are more reluctant now, aside from perhaps the financial constraints?
I think it's actually really complex. There are a lot of factors. So there is the financial aspect. There are a large number of students in those parts of Bristol that would be first generation university attendees, so their families didn't go and therefore they haven't necessarily had that experience. There's quite a lot of work that's going on in that area in terms of helping students to understand what the options are. So the Future Quest programme, for example, has focused particularly on students who would be the first of their family to go to university.
And do you think parents perhaps don't understand as well what the options are?
Absolutely, and there are so many options now. So there's the traditional university route, but there are also apprenticeships and other higher education opportunities, and that can be quite a minefield if you weren't used to that when you were at school.
Do you think we would be seeing this problem if tuition fees weren't as expensive as they were?
I think the landscape is quite broad, and so with the introduction of apprenticeships and other routes, we would probably be seeing something like this, but I think it would be naive to assume that funding isn't a factor.
And for people, just briefly if you can, who want more information about alternatives, what would you suggest they do?
Well, if you're in a school, then schools all have access to careers advisors. There are so many useful websites now. There are so many things like Career Pilot and other websites that can support students that are often available to be used in school. If you're not in school, then using your local services and your local authority to find out about what the options are, and also looking on the university websites. They're really accessible now.
OK, Sally Apps, we'll have to leave it there. Thanks very much for coming in.
Thank you.
Bob, thank you very much. And just before we go, let's remind you of the headlines here in the West Country this evening. And figures out today reveal the number of people across our region applying for degree places has gone down significantly. Universities are also struggling to admit students from poorer backgrounds. Well, today a conference attracting hundreds of 14-year-olds from a variety of backgrounds took place to try to address the trend.